I'm Tim. Welcome to my channel. It is another glorious day. Thanks for giving me a shot. Can't talk this morning. I'm not going to do another take. I've had to do 3 takes of this intro, and this is going to be the one I go with. So here we go. Sometimes in the morning, I just can't get the brain to function right away. So we're going to be jumping into doing shoulders today, starting out with the 10-pound dumbbells just to warm up, get it going. Make sure you take the time to warm up, because if you don't, you will regret it. It's a nice chance to check and see if there's anything wrong. Make sure if any of your exercising that you've done earlier tore anything, broke anything, just any potential problems. I'm a big fan of the adage, stitch in time saves 9. All right. Had a fairly decent night's sleep. Only got interrupted 3 times. Once waking up to make sure that my kid that's potty training, went to the bathroom. Once because someone had dreams, and then once because one of them wanted to jump in bed with us. But not horrible. All not the worst things. Just tiring. All right, I'm gonna go 20 pounds. I was watching a video that was dispelling or trying to dispel this concept that your that your weight loss and your weight gain in your 30s and 40s isn't actually due to a slowing metabolism, but just you're not sleeping as much, you're working more, you're sitting more, and that's what makes weight loss so much harder in your 30s and 40s. I definitely, with kids, man, the sleep takes a huge hit. I mean, I rarely get 6 hours of uninterrupted sleep. If I go to sleep for 6 hours, or when I go to sleep and I'm shooting for 6 hours, it gets broken up all the time. That's just the way it goes. Again, this is the 20 pounds. This is still my warm up. I like to warm up with the 10 pounds and then move up to the 20 pounds to really make sure, I feel like that if you are just doing 10 pounds, there's a possibility that something could be wrong and you'll just miss it. So then I like to kick it up to the 20 pounds just to double check. I'm gonna tell you one good thing about getting older and education and reading stuff. You don't necessarily have to go to college, but reading how studies are done and conclusions that people make to studies is really good because the media loves to put out stories about studies that are shocking. Like one study that I saw an article about this morning was like, oh, if you let your kids play Fortnite or Minecraft, especially if they're boys, when they get older, they're going to be gamblers. They have a higher likelihood of gambling. And I was just like, man, that's not, there's no way that you can make that argument that, oh, like this is what did it. Because they did this, this is what happens. You can say it in a study, like you can come up with the data that correlates that, but it doesn't mean that that's true. But when you read it in the paper or in the news, it seems like it's true, and it's not necessarily true. It's really, it's very annoying because later on, something will come out about why that study is wrong, and it just won't get the same airtime, so people will have no idea that the information is wrong. It's like the bee population going down was big news, and everyone's like, "Oh, we're losing all the bees. We're losing all the bees." But when that trend stopped, and then the bees were coming back, you really didn't hear about it. They started in it. Took a long time before it got into my head that, oh no, the bee population is bouncing back. All right, so we're done warming up. This means we're gonna jump into the 60 pounds. But there's a lot of famous studies that were quoted a lot when I was younger. That new studies have come out and been like, yeah, that's completely bogus. Or studies that were quoted that their results weren't just wrong; they were lies, and they were trying to prove a point that they couldn't prove, so they just fudged the data because they thought like that was the more important thing, and nobody's ever checked their work. The biggest one that I think was told a lot was the idea of the rat in the cage, and the rat put the rat in the cage, and there's the button for the food, there's a button for the drugs, and then they will just take the drugs until they die. And that study was like, oh yeah, like this is why no one can have drugs, is they'll just, unlimited access, they'll pick drugs over food. But then somebody finally, decades later, was like, oh no, like rats are a social creature. You isolated a rat that is a social creature and only gave it the choice of food or drugs. Of course, it's going to pick drugs. It's trying to make itself feel better about the fact that it's isolated. So when they put the rats in did a study where the rats were still allowed to have contact, or were, in a group, they would pick the drugs recreationally, but they weren't killing themselves on drugs. They were fine. It was the isolation that drove the drug abuse. All right, now I'm stalling. All right, 60 pounds. Here we go. I'm gonna get a minute and hit it again. Ooh, that was fun. One of the things I find like that's interesting about bad science is it makes you trust science less. Which sucks. But it makes you super skeptical. And then bad science and then bad reporting of events, it makes you trust your own experience, things that you've seen, things that you've done over anything else, which really limits how many things that you can cling to with authority. All right, we're gonna switch to, no, not switching. We're going back. Here we go. That's 4. We'll give it a minute and hit it again. Whew. I believe this is, go back. Warrior. This is only the second time I've done 60 pounds. So just starting fresh with it. Why is that keeps making that noise? It scares me. Make sure it doesn't like collapse. It'd be very unfortunate. All right, let's do this. Oh. That's not easy. All right, gonna switch to 50 pounds. The hard part too is I like to think I'm a pretty reasonable guy and I can question bad science and not throw out the baby with the bathwater. But there's other people that don't seem like they can separate those two, and they just toss out the whole thing. And then it's hard to have a discussion with them because the way science has been done allows for a lot of people to say things are bogus and not true. And if someone doesn't want to put their faith in science or in men, it's really, really hard to have a reasonable argument with them or discussion with them. Because of the lies. Anything that you like say, like, oh, well, this was said, that was said, you know, it's very easy for someone to be like, oh, well, how do you know that for sure? So that's something. One second, one of my kids wants me. All right. One of my children is very creative. Both of my kids are very creative, but one of them made something for me out of the magnets. Those like magnet tiles. I think one of the hard things about Legos and tiles is kids will be like, oh, you can have this forever, but well, that's not the point of the magnets. It's to keep building new things. All right, here we go. I'll keep it as long as their memory of it lasts. All right, 50 pounds. That's 8. Like looking at the time, I feel like it's like workout has gotten away from me. Another child. 1 second. All right. All right, here we go. Man, it's 4. I can hear one of my kids just remembered that it's Friday, so they're very excited. All right, gonna go down to 40 pounds. It's very fun to hear your kids get excited. I think in adult life, you don't have as many things, I think, to get excited about. Like, you have things that are exciting, but like you go to work and stuff, you get a raise, it's exciting, you have good days. But I think for kids, there's just so much more that's exciting to them. And it's nice because then it reminds you to be more excited about life. They'll be in awe about something that you haven't really thought about as being that amazing for a while. And they'll just remind you, like, hey, yeah, man, like things are good, things are fun, and you can be excited too. Makes everything better. All right, 40 pounds. And kids can remind you to not be so jaded. It can be very easy to be jaded in life. You get used to the wonders of the world or the things that are amazing and forget about them. When you teach kids, when you teach kids things, you like rediscover how amazing things are. Like I remember one of the things that I always thought that was amazing as a kid is you take a glass and you take like some container of water and you put the paper towel in the bottom of the glass and then you put the glass in the water and you pull it out and the paper towel isn't wet at all because of the vacuum seal and stuff, but it's just a very simple thing that was like really really cool as a kid. And those are the things I get excited about showing my kids. Those small things of like, that's amazing. And that was 8. Give 40 seconds and jump back on it. Let's go. All right, gonna grab 30 pounds. Actually, I'm gonna switch over to do some. Hold on, thinking. All right, I'm gonna switch over to lateral raises. All right, lateral raises. Here we go. Once again, just doing a quick set with the 10 pounds. Make sure there's no unforeseen problems. I got 30 pounds. Oh man. Hold on. All right. Leave it a minute and then hit it again. That's bad. All right, last time I did these with the 30 pounds, first set was 2. So on par there. And then the next set was 4. So if I can just do 5, we're looking at an improvement. Let's go for 5. That's 5. That's 5. Oop, did not mean to kick that. That's very ugly. I'm gonna switch to 20 pounds. I feel like if you just focused on lateral raises and be able to do a lot of weight, just don't train anything else, But lateral raises would be a cheat code to impressing other people, other lifters. You just got yourself to like, oh, I can lateral raises at 40 pounds. I would be like, oh, you must be super strong. I would have no questions about whatever else you do. That would be just, to me, being able to do a lateral raise at 40 pounds would be incredibly impressive. If you could lateral anything above 40 pounds, which is, I don't know what to say. That's amazing. Lateral raises are like the hardest thing I do. All right, I'm gonna look up after this to see what the record is for a lateral raise. I would say maybe 60 pounds. Maybe there's some psychopath that can do 60 pounds. All right, thank you so much for hanging out. Appreciate it. Hope you have a good day, and God bless you. Thank you. All right, with the shoulder presses, I did 3 sets of 10 with the 10 pounds, 3 sets of 10 with the 20 pounds, with the 60 pounds, 1 set of 10, 2 sets of 4, with the 50 pounds, 1 set of 8, 1 set of 4, with the 40 pounds, 1 set of 10, 1 set of 8, and 1 set of 6. For lateral raises, I did 1 set of 10 with the 10 pounds, with the 30 pounds, 1 set of 2, 1 set of 5, 1 set of 3, with the 20 pounds, 1 set of 8, and 1 set of 6. Thank you so much.